Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Jester. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video I'm going to take a look at the perks, mutations and the equipment and everything else that's important about the character. Now, what is this going to be about? On first glance, it's a pretty generic Gunslinger. However, the interesting thing here is the weapon we are using, which is a instigating black powder pistol. Now, the black powder pistol is an interesting weapon in this game. It's actually one of those that was added with this game, which means it was never in another Fallout game. And it's always been kind of interesting to me because it's a very unique weapon. It's very hard hitting, however it has a very long reload time, and that's pretty much it. It has decent range and a fairly good hit chance. There are no mods for it as far as I am aware, and yeah, it's been kind of this odd weapon which you may have used on occasions when you're leveling a character, maybe even the first time you played the game and you kept this around in order to deal with some bosses or something. But it's just not all that useful pretty soon. Like, chances are you find something more usable simply because of the low reload speed and therefore the low time, the low fire rate. So the moment you're getting swarmed, especially with something like this here with ghouls, it rapidly loses its usefulness. But on the other hand, it's still kind of fun. I do like the idea of the weapon. I do like the aesthetic, how the thing is made, and the sound and everything. It's kind of cool to use, and it's something I wanted to make a video about for quite a while now. Now, when it comes to this weapon, I did have a few approaches. Like, this is basically the third or the fourth time that I tried to make a build around it, and this is the first time I actually came up with something I was confident about, I really enjoyed using. Now, my first approach was to do something similar what I did with my Robco agent, for those of you who remember that video, which was basically using a weapon that's loud with stealth, meaning that we take a shot and use the game's mechanics to regain stealth after being detected every time. And while that certainly works, I ultimately just didn't have all that much fun with it. Another thing to keep in mind, it's actually surprisingly stealthy, which is kind of odd. You can get away with quite a lot here. But ultimately, yeah, as I said, I was not really enjoying it all that much. Now, my second approach was to just try and make a very tanky character, so that the reload speed didn't really bother us too much, simply because, yeah, enemies could get hits in and it wouldn't matter all that much. However, while that also worked, yet again, it wasn't the greatest fun. It was just a bit tedious, and especially when you're fighting ghouls or something, yeah, you just have them wailing at you for a while. Yeah, it ultimately wasn't all that funny, again. And the third approach I had was something I kind of got the idea from others, which were using black powder weaponry. There are also rifles, and there's the dragon. And that was to just keep multiple of these weapons, preload them before you get into a fight, and ultimately once you do get into a fight, you just want to use all of them. Like, you carry 5 or so that are preloaded, so you can get 5 shots before you have to reload. However, I found it kind of hard to keep track of which weapon is loaded, and, you know, was kind of tedious. Now, on this occasion, we pretty much fight the worst enemy that you could imagine with, or one of the worst enemies at least, that you could imagine with this weapon, which is a sheep squatch, which is just tanky as hell. So I hope it's not getting too boring. However, it gives me a chance to show off something that was timing, like exactly what I just shown. The weapon, if you stay in beds while reloading and then shoot, you can do something that so far I have seen with the M79 grenade launcher, which is sometimes you get 2 shots rather than 1 if you're just spamming the shoot button. Now on this occasion we are using a instigating version. I'm not sure if I have mentioned that, but we definitely have the power to just kill an enemy if the instigating effect doesn't work. Anyway, so the most important thing about this weapon is the faster reload legendary effect. I ended up with a pretty simple solution, which was make a rather simple generic Gunslinger character, and yeah, the important thing here was just the legendary effects. Now we double down on the strength of the weapon, which is hard hitting, by using the instigating effect. Then one weakness is you simply can't afford to miss a lot of shots. We do have the bad hit chance effect coupled with high perception, means we're barely hitting missing any shots. And lastly, we do have the faster reload, which, I mean, 15% faster reload doesn't sound like much, but ultimately it makes the weapon very usable. Combined with the speed demon mutation, the reload isn't all that bad. Like, it's not enough on a black powder rifle, unfortunately, but as you can see here, this reload time, what is it, 2 seconds maybe? It's not that bad actually. It's kind of surprising. So as long as you're not completely swarmed by enemies, for example if you want to do the White Spring Golf Club, then this is not enough. However, on occasions like this is okay. Coupled with the high damage that we're dealing, this is actually a very viable weapon. Now, we were unlucky here, missing 2 shots in a row, but ultimately definitely a usable weapon. Now, especially when it comes to bosses or Scorch Beasts or something, it's not that bad actually. Now if you get lucky, as you saw here, you can get like every second or third shot you can make this little trick work where you do double damage actually, because you rapidly make 2 shots in a row, and that really boosts your time to kill. Another nice thing is that most enemies, like most mobs in the game, you don't even have to take a headshot in order to bring them down. A torso shot will be enough, which makes your hit chance very reliable. Like over mid-range you can very reliably target torsos. Now you basically just have to target for the head when it comes to Mirelurks or super mutants, but talking about Scorched or ghouls, if you have some adrenaline going on coupled with the instigating effect and the hard-hitting weapon itself, makes it so that a torso shot will bring them down, most likely. Now, one situation where we probably get into a problem will be if at the Red Rocket Mega Stop there will be a Assaultron, but what we're going to do is we're trying to get a sneak attack off. Now we do have Escape Artist on this character. We're not really spec'd into stealth, but we do have very high agility, or reasonably high agility, so we can definitely stay hidden for a while if we approach a situation. It's just not enough to keep hidden or stay hidden once we are in a fight, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you can scout out the area and approach enemies directly. This also helps because oftentimes when you are entering a fight, now this is the stupid guy that always glitches here, if you approach a situation, you likely don't have any adrenaline going on, so maybe for the first 1 or 2 kills you can utilize the sneak attack bonus. Now let's see. Alright, there we is. If we're fast enough, yeah, it was fast enough, and now we're basically not having that big of a problem. We always want to target the weak spots on enemies like this, so going for the thruster. On this occasion I'm not quite sure. I think the instigating effect didn't quite work, but as you can see it's not that big of a deal. You obviously have to heal relatively often because you are not a stealth character, you get hits in, and you're ultimately not built for being very tanky. Now we do have decent armor and bit of endurance, so it's not, you're not really squishy, that's not the problem. However, you're not tanky either. For the looks I went just because, well, the weapon is kind of silly. Like, it obviously is a cool thing if you want to go for a kind of pirate approach. If you want to make a pirate roleplay, maybe you could couple in something like the broadsider, just to deal with hordes of ghouls or anything. But on this occasion I just wanted to use this weapon. Now, in situations like, for example, the White Spring, what I tend to carry is this here quad single action revolver. Nothing special about it otherwise. I think it has limb damage and faster VETS crits, but we're not spec'd into VETS so much as to get VETS crits on every second shot, so this perk is basically redundant actually. We do have far-flung fireworks, which sometimes messes with our instigating effect, but I just wanted to have it there for the effect. Kind of fits the character, and that's pretty much it. Now maybe we can show off the single action revolver here. It's not a good weapon either, it's one of the silly weapons too, but it's kind of fun. You actually have to reload every single shot once you're done, so if you know the reload speed of this weapon, here you can see it. Imagine running out of ammo completely and doing this 24 times. It takes a while, but it's definitely good enough in order to get you out of some sticky situations. Now, I think there are some reds, but I think we can spare them today. Alright, since we have a crit. Bit of an overkill, I guess, but who gives a shit. Now let's go to Huntersville and kill some super mutants. And as you can probably imagine, this is obviously not a great character or something, or OP or anything, but it definitely has its own kind of flavor. Like, it's kind of cool to pretty much one-shot everything. However, you have to wait a little bit, and you definitely have to adjust a little bit in terms of gameplay. Meaning that you actually try to use cover more than on most characters. For example, like, you charge into an enemy, shoot them, it maybe takes a few seconds before they really all gather up and know where you are, but so in that time you can maybe kill one or two of them, but after that you really want to maybe back off through some door or something, and that's pretty much your approach. Now this is something I noticed, which is if you're using a critical over mid to high range, sometimes there's rubber banding going on, so the enemy doesn't really take any damage at all. It's relatively rare though. Another thing that's mentionable about this weapon is it's obviously very ammo efficient. Like, I played with this build maybe for something like, I'd say 8 hours or so in order to prepare it, and in the whole time I once had to farm daily ops in order to regain ammo. I burned through a whole of, let's say, 1,000 bullets, because yeah, actually you can say that per bullet you kill an enemy. Just enemies like Scorch Beast or so that you need more, and even then you're talking about 6 to 10 bullets, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, bullets might not be the right term. Actually, I think that's just 50 caliber balls, because they're actually like propelled by gunpowder, so they're not really these bullets as you know them. Not sure, I'm pretty sure I knew the term for them at one point, but yeah, that's about done. Now, as you saw here, you're starting to reload behind cover, but after a while you pretty much gain a feeling for how long it will take to take down an enemy, to reload the weapon, and so you know when you comfortably can get out of cover and charge your next enemy. It sometimes seems to reload faster than other times, which I never really got behind why that is, but it could ultimately very well just be the way I perceive it, and not be a real thing actually. Just maybe in more tense situations it feels like it's reloading longer just because it would be more imminent to reload, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, as you can see, I mean, you gotta like how the weapon works. You know, it's definitely not great, and having to wait before you shoot every now and then can definitely put people off. I get that, I understand that, but if you wanna make this weapon work, if you get hands on something with faster reload, I feel like it definitely makes a difference, a whole lot of difference actually. And as I said, I tried a rifleman weapon, a black powder rifle with the faster reload effect, and it's just not the same. Now, one thing you'd probably be pressed to take would be the one that instantly reloads your magazine every now and then, quick hands, because obviously if you have to reload your weapon every shot, you're probably getting the max benefit out of something like that. However, I ultimately didn't think that 3 points of perk investment was worth it, because it just, I mean, it's 18% or something. That's just not enough. That's so inconsistent, and after all, if you want to use this weapon, you have to adjust a little bit to how you use it, and so you don't get around that anyways. So having one bullet being reload every now and then very inconsistently just isn't the help that you would need. So I ultimately decided not to use the perk. However, obviously if you want to use it, feel free to. There's definitely things I do use which aren't all that necessary, so you could use something like that easily. Now, another thing, we're quite invested into criticals in terms of luck perks, but I mean, we're not using them for damage. It's nice to have them when you're fighting something like a Deathclaw or a Yaoguai. That's why I ultimately went for it. Now, you don't need it. You can go for a more consistent approach, and you could actually use all those luck perk points in order to boost your endurance, be a bit more tanky, but that's something for personal preference in my opinion. Neither going there for endurance or for luck is definitely the ultimate better decision in my opinion. So you can do both. However, I found it like kind of neat to have these criticals every now and then, simply because pretty much every time I run into a tougher enemy, I did have a crit ready sooner or later. Maybe not at the first shot, but pretty much at the second shot most of the times. So that really helped me. And since we can get into caution pretty easily with the escape artist perk, that means that we can even one-shot pretty tough enemies most of the times if we're doing it right. Now, with the Deathclaw that you just saw on the cliff, it didn't really work simply because it wasn't a fight and we didn't get the benefits from our instigating effect. However, that's not always the case. Oftentimes you do find such enemies. They are definitely not in a fight, and in these situations, yeah, you can easily dispatch them within a single shot. Another thing is you will always want to be on the move. Not that there are any perks or so that we utilize by that, but it simply makes it harder for enemies to get a hit in on you. Another thing is if you are on a server with a lot of lag, I found that the VET's hit chance effect didn't really work all that well, so definitely keep that in mind. It's possible that you will miss more shots, and if that's the case, that really lets the character down. That's really kind of brutal to this character, so you might want to consider using this on a private server or something. I really found a difference there. However, if you think that your server stability is kind of consistent on public servers, I mean, go for it. Then another thing is, when it comes to events, yeah, it's really hit or miss. There's definitely a lot of events where you're kind of useless and won't have the most fun. Like, a good example would probably be Radiation Rumble, for example. It's just, you're not built for that. It's a mass amount of enemies that you could take down with something else. However, what you can certainly do is, since you are a gunslinger, you aren't forced to just use this weapon. It's just, this could be your day-to-day weapon. However, there's tons of options. You can use a Western revolver, carry that around with you, or if you get hands on a Crusader pistol or a 10mm pistol, there's options. So you can definitely do that for events where there are more enemies. However, on other situations, for example, one event where I found that I actually was contributing quite a lot was, funnily enough, the Scorchbeast Queen. Like, you can easily dispatch most of the enemies there within a single shot, so you can help out a lot. And on the average Queen fight, in my opinion, the spawns come in pretty much in exactly the right amount so that you're useful, and on the other hand, you're actually doing relatively good damage on the Queen. Like, it's not enough to solo her or anything, obviously, but you can easily get your rewards, like 5 shots and you're there. But you can easily hit the Queen for like 200 to 300 with a headshot. And keep in mind, this thing where you're doing double taps happens very often, especially if you're getting more laggy, which often happens at a Queen fight. So you can really do some substantial damage, not to underestimate. But anyways, I digress. That was pretty much it when it comes to the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've seen that this is actually not as bad as you'd imagine, probably. I'm kind of lucky even that we fought the Sheep Squatch at the beginning, even though it was maybe dragging the video a little bit. I hope it wasn't too tedious. However, everything else went down pretty fast. We've never been in a really bad situations, I think. So overall, I think yeah, I had a fun time, and I can only say, give it a try. I mean, if you have a Gunslinger character, you can basically just try to get hands on such a weapon and use it for a while. It might be fun. And now we get into our build itself. Now here's the weapon. As I said, it's an instigating, VETS hit chance, faster reload black powder pistol. Obviously, junkies would work well. If you want to go down the bloody route, you can do that. However, I think on this occasion it's not the best idea, because yeah, your stealth would definitely make a different character. So on this occasion it's not a stealth character, and therefore bloodied might be a bit too risky. Instigating is nice. Anti-armor, it would work well. However, I argue that on this occasion junkies would definitely be the better option, because you have high base damage, which means you already have high armor penetration in and of itself. So the benefit from anti-armor while it's there would not be that great, in my opinion. As a secondary effect, if you find that you're hitting reliably enough, you could definitely use an explosive version. Would definitely give you more damage. However, I think that's not necessary. Going for better hits chance was definitely a nice idea, in my opinion. The only mandatory thing here is faster reload. I definitely recommend that. I wouldn't want to use the weapon without it. I tried different versions that didn't have faster reload, and those 15% really make a difference. And last but not least, something I know is instigating isn't all that much liked anymore. People kind of think it's garbage nowadays. However, the problem is, on a lot of weapons it's trash. And unfortunately enough, on a lot of weapons that are quite common, especially when it comes to commander or rifleman weapons, a lot of those that are frequently used, talking about handmaids, fixers, hunting rifles, those things heavily rely on mods in order to get their damage, meaning that their base damage, for example, let's talk about the hunting rifle. Its base damage with 38 receiver or something is very low, but you can easily double that, I think, if you're using a 50 cal receiver and something. The problem is the instigating effect only applies one time the base damage of the weapon. So on most cases it's far from doubling your damage output. It's pretty much, yeah, like 30-40% extra damage, which isn't a lot. However, on the instigating black powder pistol, this is a bit different, because since the weapon doesn't have any modifications, the instigating effect still works very well. You're not getting any benefits from your rifleman, from your gunslinger perks or anything, but as far as the weapon itself is concerned, it's definitely still a great damage increase on the first hit. So therefore instigating on the black powder pistol is still a good thing. Onto our armor. This is really all over the place. We do have 3 Vanguard's pieces. 2 of them have AP refresh. So we do have 2 heavy combat armor things, then 1 sturdy metal leg, 1 weightless sturdy metal leg, however that has AP refresh again and weapon weight reduction, but that's not all that important here. And lastly, we do have 1 chameleon piece with the sentinel effect and charisma, so this is pretty much a non-legendary version for us. The chameleon effect might help a little bit with our escape artist, so if we want to get a sneak shot in, that can help. However, it's not necessary, so the perfect combination would probably be a full set of Vanguard with AP refresh or anything that goes. Like, you could go for a mixed mesh set of Slayer armor with the AP refresh, but overall there's nothing specific you want to go for here, nothing really necessary. An auto-stim piece definitely could be a good idea, so you get you don't have to worry about your health situation all that much, but that's pretty much up to you. It wasn't really all that important here. By the way, I was really lucky and got my first legendary recon armor, and it was a nocturnal, as you can see, so that's great. That's about it when it comes to the equipment. Now, in terms of mutations, we have quite a lot here. We do have Bird Bones, Chameleon, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Herbivore, Marsupial, Speed Demon, and Unstable Isotope. Now, first things first, Unstable Isotope, Herbivore, Eagle and Chameleon. Those 3 mutations aren't necessary at all. They're just leftovers from other builds that didn't really hurt us all that much though, so I just left them in there. Herbivore, I mean, you could use some buffs for extra perception or extra agility or maybe even extra crit damage, but not really necessary here either. What you want to have, in my opinion, is Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. Those 4 are very important. Marsupial and Speed Demon, faster reload, very important here. Faster movement speed and higher jumps make it easier for you to traverse the battlefield and get in and out of danger, getting into cover and such. Eagle Eyes, yeah, we really want to take our hits, so we want to get our shots in, and more perception is always nice. The crit damage, well, we're doing crits every now and then, so that doesn't hurt either. And lastly, Bird Bones for extra agility. While you can live without it on this occasion, it's definitely doable. You're not using all that much AP actually, because yeah, you're basically doing 1 shot, and by the time you're shooting again, your agility, your action points have refreshed already, so that's not that big of a deal. But falling a little bit slower helps, and ultimately it's still more agility, which even helps when we want to get our first sneak attack in. So therefore, extra for agility and reduced full speed, also beneficial on this occasion. And Egghead is just there so I can level a bit faster, because we're actually having relatively high intelligence already, so giving it even a bit of more of an edge is kind of important. I'm increasingly getting into trouble because, yeah, leveling up in order to spec my characters gets harder and harder, and I really don't want to use or make another Bethesda account simply because I don't have all the plans there, and especially all the stuff from the scoreboards and the atom shop stuff. Yeah, it's kind of tedious, so I really try to make it work and hope that the respec option Bethesda gives us will be good and come relatively soon. Maybe that even gets in line with my PS5, so then you can expect to see way better videos. However, well, that's not important at the moment. Onto our build itself, meaning the perk cards. We do have 3 strength for traveling pharmacy. I mean, I do carry quite a lot of stim packs, and we don't have a lot of carry weight, so having traveling pharmacy here really helped me. Also helps with all the chems you can use, like Psycho Buff, Psychotats and everything, but I didn't really bother with them all that much. Perception, a bit more important. It's at 11 with Tank Killer, Concentrated Fire, Awareness and Glow Sight. Now, Tank Killer for armor penetration, I already said so. You do have quite a lot of armor penetration anyways because you're hard hitting. However, having a bit more doesn't hurt. Concentrated Fire, while we're relatively rarely taking consecutive hits, it might not be worth it to go for rank 3. However, we did want to have high perception anyways, and at least 1 rank of Concentrated Fire in order to target the weak spots of enemies was kind of important here, so might as well go for rank 3. If you want to do a second shot or a third shot, yeah, You saw it with the Scorch Beast or the Sheep Squatch. Yeah, it does happen, especially when you're fighting tougher enemies. Awareness isn't necessary. It's not like you're using it tactically in order to see if an enemy either uses energy, is resistant to energy or ballistic damage, but yeah, as I said, high perception should be there anyways, and therefore filling it with something is nice. Now, one thing I would do if I didn't need like 3 more level ups, I probably would go for rank 2 of Concentrated Fire. Don't use awareness and use rank 3 of Exterminator perk in order to get more armor penetration, so we can easily deal with Mirelurk Queens and Mirelurk Kings, but very situational, so you might as well not use that. It's up to you. Basically the same goes for Glow Sight here. It's situational. I think it helps. You really want to one-shot things like glowing ghouls. Those bastards can be tanky. However, you can one-shot them with this weapon. Sadly, I couldn't really show that off during the video, but it definitely works. You need some adrenaline though, but if you're killing like 2 to 3 ghouls and then go for the legendary glowing one, that's definitely a possible thing. And with a critical, you can easily do it anyways. Onto Endurance, which is at 6. We do have Adamantium Skeleton here, which is kind of important. You don't want to get crippled, because if you get crippled, you get hits in that does mess with your reload animation, so you have to start all over again. All the while you do have to use a stim pack in order to heal you, so that can make a 2-second reload time take something like 7 seconds or so, and that makes it so enemies can easily swarm you. Adamantium Skeleton, very important here in my opinion. Now we do have rank 2 of Fireproof, however, as you can see, we are at Endurance 6, so we would have room for rank 3 Fireproof, which would be the plan. One more level up, I would have been there. However, I decided to record the video because, yeah, if I have rank 2 or rank 3 of Fireproof, doesn't really alter the way we play the game, and you can probably imagine, yeah, we're just a bit more tanky when it comes to explosions. Arguably even overkill, because I'm pretty sure we do have a dense chest piece, so that's pretty much all we need. But yeah, ultimately I would have went for rank 3 of Fireproof here. Onto Charisma. Lone Wanderer, pretty self-explanatory. Take a bit less damage, have faster AP regen, definitely useful here. Onto Intelligence, it's at 11. We have rank 3 of First Aid, rank 3 of Batteries included, and rank 5 of Gunsmith. Now, First Aid I would recommend here, definitely, because yeah, you do get shot every now and then, and you don't want to spend time using like 3 stimpaks or something. You want to use 1 stimpak if you have to, and then want to move on from there. So rank 3 of First Aid, definitely useful. Gunsmith, I mean, up to you. You can definitely live without it. The weapon breaks fairly slowly since you're not hitting all that often, so you can live without it. However, I wanted to have high intelligence and found Gunsmith to be useful here. Another thing you could arguably go for would be Demolitions Expert. Use some grenades here and there, maybe mines or something. You could even use a explosive weapon. Would help you definitely with crowded situations where your main weapon, the black powder pistol, doesn't shine. So that could be an argument for that, but I went with Gunsmith here. And batteries included. Arguably, if you just want to use this character, there's no reason for it, because you don't need any fusion cores or energy ammo at all. However, yeah, I tend to carry a lot of energy ammo here, and I didn't really have the room to just stash that, so I went for batteries included here. Go for whatever you like here. You can also reduce intelligence. You will see I have quite some perk points from legendary perks, so arguably you possibly don't even have access to so many perk points anyways. So having said that, you can definitely reduce intelligence by quite a bit and still have effectively the same build. Like, you could arguably go down to intelligence 3 here and don't see a big difference in gameplay. Now the last 2 stats are the most important ones. We do have agility here, Gunslinger, all of them maxed out. Pretty self-explanatory. Our main thing is hitting hard with our weapons, so we really want to go down that route, and squeeze out pretty much every bit of damage that we can have. So the basis is to one-shot as much enemies as possible. Escape Artist rank 1. Now you could go for rank 3 of Action Boy, however that wouldn't do all that big of a difference. We do have rank 2 here. We already have fast AP refresh. We have 3 pieces of armor with AP refresh. We do have Lone Wanderer, so we can definitely afford to only use rank 2 here. And Escape Artist does really help if we go against tougher enemies. You can also try to every now and then go back into Caution every now and then. For example, with the Sheep Squatch, we could have done that. We could have just taken a shot, go back into danger, back into Caution, take another shot. That would definitely decrease our time to kill. So Escape Artist, I definitely use it likely here. And last but not least, we do have Adrenaline at rank 3. Now it's up to you. If you don't want to use Action Boy and feel confident to not use it, you can actually go for Adrenaline rank 5. Would not be a bad idea. So it could give you even a little bit more of an edge when you're fighting Sheep Squads, Gorge Beast or anything, just by giving you more damage from the mobs you kill beforehand. So that would arguably be a good decision. However, I went with rank 3 here, which is kind of a nice middle ground, but that's up to you. As you can see here, we do have Gunfu at rank 1. I used that for a while, however I found that it wasn't all that necessary. It more often didn't help me than it helped me. So oftentimes I do want to take a shot, jump somewhere else, and then re-enter wets. Gunfu kind of gives you an extra strap. Now if you want to shoot a ghoul and then want to move to another position in order to shoot the next one rather than stand there and wait for the second ghoul, Gunfu can give you kind of an extra strap in the middle, because you have to actively leave vets and re-enter it, rather than just shooting an enemy, being automatically out of vets, removing and then re-entering vets. That sounded kind of complicated now that I said it, so I hope it's not as complicated as I think. I hope you understood it. On to luck. We do have Bloody Mess. Pretty much the same reasoning that I gave with Gunslinger perks. Yeah, we want to squeeze every little bit of damage out of our weapon, just because we really want to make sure to one-shot most enemies. Grim Reaper Sprint, pretty self-explanatory. We're always using VATS now. Arguably, this is the point where you could use Quick Hands rather than Grim Reaper Sprint, because yeah, very rarely do we run out of AP, and I'm pretty sure since we refresh our action points so fast, we could live without Grim Reaper Sprint. You could also go for 4-leaf Clubber, as I have down there, but I went for Grim Reaper Sprint ultimately anyways, because it made me kind of confident that when I'm running somewhere, I can enter a fight with like 30% of my AP pretty confidently, because if I get 1 or 2 kills in, sooner or later my complete AP will be refreshed. 1 rank of Psychopath. Well, I did have luck at 15 here, so since I'm using Storage Genes and all the other perks are rank 3, I had 1 rank left, and I could have gone for something like Curator in order to use Bobbleheads a bit more effectively, or 1 rank of 4-leaf Clubber or anything, but yeah, I went for Psychopath just because it gives me this little tiny chance that when I'm killing an enemy I can just instantly get a critical again. But do whatever you like. You can also just leave out that 1 luck, so you can go down to luck 14. Doesn't make a big difference. It's very rare, but if it happens, it's kind of nice. Better criticals, I would definitely recommend, as well as Critical Savvy. Those two are just very generic when it comes to VATS builds. You just pretty much always want to have those two, because yeah, if you have a VATS build, you do use criticals, you might as well want to make them more powerful, and Critical Savvy is hands down the best perk in order to increase your rate of criticals. Pretty simple. Onto our legendary perks here. As you can see, 5 of them actually are for legendary stats. So legendary agility at rank 1, legendary intelligence at rank 3, endurance at 2, perception at 2, and luck at 3. Not a lot to talk about here. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they do. They give us access to more perks, which especially on Gunslingers I always feel like is a nice thing to have. And since we're not using stealth, we don't use follow through. Taking one for the team could be a good idea. However, our approach is to kill pretty much every enemy with one shot, if possible. So very often you kill enemies before they take a hit at you, so that would be kind of a waste. And I actually went for far-flung fireworks. I mentioned it during the video, but it can mess with our instigating effect. It does happen pretty rarely, which doesn't really speak for the perk actually, because it doesn't have a lot of range. I just found it to be adding a little bit of fun to the gameplay. However, I didn't really think it was ultimately all that useful. You could also go for yet another stat increase or something, but what reds would be maybe a nice idea, or you know, you have pretty much free choice here. There's nothing you desperately need. And well, that was pretty much everything that I have to say about the character. I hope you did enjoy it. And I'm gonna make sure that this time around I'm going to stick a bit longer on the picture, because I noticed that with my last build, yeah, the thumbnail didn't really load. I will have to go back to it on the PC and try to find a good thumbnail, because the other one is pretty trashy. However, on this occasion, well, it's not all that good of a thumbnail anyways. I didn't really find a good location. Admittedly, I didn't search all that well, but I mean, if you know about a location that would have suited this character well, something like a Jester or a Clown, I thought about Freddy's House of Fear, Big Freddy's House of Fear, I think it's called, but ultimately there wasn't really a scenery that I could really use, but I'm sure somewhere in the game there's a good spot hidden for it. And well, anyways, just to reassume like everything about the character, I was genuinely surprised how big of a difference it felt like using a black powder pistol compared to a rifle, and then especially if you're using faster reload. It actually was very manageable. Like, obviously there are situations where you get overwhelmed, but for example, I didn't really feel like it was a whole lot different to using a revolver or something, where you have to be cautious too. So black powder pistol, definitely a better weapon than I had like in my head. Like, I remembered this weapon to be way worse than it actually is. I genuinely think it's one of the better pistols in this game now. Couple that in with the ammo efficiency and the ease of crafting ammo, no modifications necessary. You can get it pretty early on and it's already quite powerful. You can definitely make this weapon work, and I'm sure you could even make a better build. Like, I'd be interested to see how well it works if you really use it on a dedicated stealth build. I just didn't want to do that, because I ultimately thought it would be very similar to my how's it called, Robco agent build that used the soldier on the head. Therefore, yeah, I mean, it's in the whole process is very similar. It was a weapon that had a long reload time and was loud, so yeah, you can imagine very similar video, just a bit different aesthetics. I mean, obviously you can say that this is very similar to other gunslingers, but anyways, this was the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Till next time, bye.